This is not a story that begins with thunder or crowns, but with dust on bare feet and breath in human lungs. Jesus of Nazareth enters the world quietly, not announcing himself as a king, but arriving as a question. From the beginning, his life unfolds as a journey rather than a destination, a moving path rather than a fixed throne. He does not rush history, he walks through it. Each step he takes presses meaning into the soil of ordinary life, teaching not from marble halls but from roads, fields, kitchens, and shorelines. His journey is not about escaping the world but transforming it from the inside out. Jesus grows up learning the weight of wood and the patience of hands. As a carpenter, he shapes planks and beams, but unknowingly prepares himself to shape hearts. The rhythm of work teaches him the dignity of labor and the holiness hidden in routine. He understands that people are built slowly, like furniture meant to last generations. This quiet preparation years before his public teaching becomes part of his message, that God is not only found in miracles, but in consistency, responsibility, and care for what is placed in one's hands. When Jesus finally steps into public life, he does not begin with commands but with invitations. He walks along the sea and calls fishermen not with promises of power, but with a simple phrase, "Follow me." In this calling, there is no contract, no explanation, only trust. His teaching begins not with theology, but with movement. To follow Jesus means to walk, to leave certainty behind, and to allow one's direction to change. Faith, in his view, is not agreement with ideas, but courage to step forward. As he travels from village to village, Jesus teaches in stories rather than speeches. He knows that truth settles deeper when it is carried by images rather than arguments. Seeds, lamps, coins, bread, storms, and vineyards become his language. Through parables, he teaches that the kingdom of God is not distant or dramatic, but quietly growing beneath the surface. Like a seed buried in soil, it works unseen, requiring patience rather than control. His listeners begin to understand that transformation rarely arrives loudly. Jesus' journey places him constantly among people who are overlooked. He eats with those considered unclean, speaks with women in public spaces, touches the sick, and listens to the poor. His teaching is not only spoken but embodied. By where he stands and whom he welcomes, he redefines holiness. He shows that holiness is not separation from suffering, but presence within it. In doing so, he unsettles religious certainty and exposes how fear often disguises itself as righteousness. When Jesus teaches about love, he strips it of sentimentality. Love, in his vision, is not comfort but commitment. He teaches love of enemies not as weakness, but as the strongest form of freedom. To refuse revenge is to break the cycle that keeps violence alive. On hillsides and in crowded homes, he explains that forgiveness is not forgetting, but choosing not to let pain become identity. His journey reveals that the hardest roads often lead to the deepest healing. As crowds grow, so does misunderstanding. Many expect Jesus to become a political liberator, a force to overthrow visible oppression. Yet he consistently refuses this role. His kingdom does not arrive on horseback but on foot. He teaches that changing systems without changing hearts only replaces one form of bondage with another. His journey slows down when others want him to speed up, reminding them that lasting change requires inner transformation. Jesus often withdraws to quiet places, showing that solitude is not escape but renewal. In silence, he listens before he speaks again. This rhythm of engagement and withdrawal becomes part of his teaching. He demonstrates that a life poured out without being refilled eventually collapses. By praying alone, he teaches that intimacy with God is the source, not the reward, of faithful living. When he speaks about faith, Jesus challenges the idea that certainty is required. He praises small faith, mustard seed faith, faith that trembles yet steps forward. Doubt, in his teaching, is not the enemy of belief, but its companion. What matters is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to trust despite it. His journey reassures those who stumble that falling does not disqualify them from walking again. As Jesus approaches Jerusalem, the tone of his journey changes. The road becomes heavier, filled with warning and sorrow. He speaks openly of suffering, teaching that love carries a cost. Yet he does not retreat. He enters the city knowing that truth often threatens power. His teaching now focuses on humility, service, and surrender, preparing his followers for a moment when hope will seem lost. During his final days, Jesus teaches not through crowds, but through closeness. At a shared meal, he speaks through bread and wine, turning ordinary elements into symbols of self-giving love. He teaches that leadership is service, washing feet instead of demanding honor. In this act, he redefines greatness as willingness to kneel. His journey reaches its most radical teaching here, that love is proven not by control, but by sacrifice. The road to the cross is not forced upon Jesus, it is chosen. He carries the weight of misunderstanding, betrayal, and fear without retaliation. His silence before accusation becomes its own teaching. He shows that truth does not always need defense, and that dignity can remain even when stripped of everything else. On the cross, his journey appears to end in failure, yet even here, his teaching continues without words. In death, Jesus teaches that love can endure abandonment. He forgives even as he suffers, refusing to let hatred have the final word. His journey descends into the deepest human pain, revealing that no place is God-forsaken. What seems like defeat becomes the seed of renewal, buried in darkness yet preparing to rise. The resurrection does not erase the journey, it confirms it. Jesus returns not as a distant spirit, but as a wounded, recognizable presence. He walks again, eats again, and speaks gently. His teaching after resurrection is simple and personal, restoring trust rather than demanding explanation. He shows that transformation does not remove scars, but gives them meaning. In the end, Jesus does not leave behind a system, but a way. His journey becomes an invitation extended across generations. To follow him is to walk roads of compassion, courage, and humility. His teaching continues wherever people choose love over fear, service over power, and hope over despair. The story of Jesus does not close with a period, but with footsteps still echoing, calling the world to walk differently. This journey of dust and light remains unfinished, carried forward by those who choose to live his teachings rather than merely admire them. In every act of mercy, every quiet forgiveness, and every step taken in faith, the path of Jesus continues, not as history remembered, but as life lived.